Hi, and welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I am your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and with me today is the lovely and talented Patty Brookins, our HR manager. Hi, Patty. How are you?
Hello, Chief. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So I have to say this starting out of the gate.
Okay.
My predecessors came kicking and screaming, specifically Chief Fatima, to this seat.
Yes, they do.
To this seat. I want to let you know, I too have a lot of words in me. I am thrilled to be here. So
I am happy to have you.
Thank you.
And for those of you that watched last week, I was only kind of here as a flat me. And Chief Fatima and Chief Rose were in and had some fun. They did a great job, and now they're not here. I'm kidding.
Did they lose their gig?
No. Chief Fatima's on vacation this week. I came back from Moab. He went to Moab. And then Chief Rose is out taking care of some family things. So they are out today. But I'd like to start this week, and I don't think there's any other way to start this, and we'll be brief with it, but by offering our sincere condolences to the Prescott Fire Department, the Prescott Fire family, the Seats family, and really the fire community.
Yes.
In our area, because they are so intertwined. And the loss of Ty Seats yesterday, or Wednesday this week, has been a huge hit and an emotional challenge, I think, for everybody.
Yes.
And I don't think it would be appropriate to start this podcast or have this podcast without acknowledging that loss. And Chief Light, to you and your folks, Mayor Mangarelli, whatever we can do for the city, the Seats family, some of whom work here with us, whatever we can do for you, we'll be here. And to everyone else, I would just say, if you're struggling or you know someone who's struggling or needs help, please reach out. There are programs in place, people who can help you. Just take time and
Right.
check on each other.
Right. And, we talked yesterday in talking with our crews and with some of the Prescott Fire crews, reach out to each other and really have engage in conversation instead of, hey, just how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. Engage, ask questions, just really get involved, and hopefully we can just help each other, keep our arms wrapped around each other. So thank you for that, Chief.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you sleeping?
Right.
That's unfortunately in these times, in these instances, it's a slow, the impact of it. You have the initial, but then it can take some time for it to fully set in.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we're checking on each other and our crews who ran the call yesterday. So,
Right.
Last night was an amazing night at Founding Fathers. I'd like to thank Grant, one of the owners of Founding Fathers, our Pipes and Drums band. Obviously, Wednesday was St. Patrick's Day. That was the day that was supposed to be a big celebration. And honestly, I think it still was. I mean, you were there, but it was a celebration of life. It was a celebration of friendship.
It was.
But the way Grant started it off after the mayor and I had visited with him to let him know what had happened and that the vibe would be a little different. Having firefighter Doug Copenhaver, just an outstanding piper, just off in the trees playing Amazing Grace in the moment of silence.
Was so moving. So moving. I mean, the pipes are beautiful anytime there's you either love them or you don't love them. But they're just so moving, and to be in that environment and have it happen at that time was just the perfect way to recognize Ty and to remember him. So it was a good night.
And I don't know about you, but when I hear Amazing Grace played by a pipes and drums band or a single piper, I almost tear up just when it's not an occasion like that. So last night was very difficult. I know for everyone there as well. But you did mention the pipes sometimes are kind of hard to take. They can be.
I never said that.
And we were, Founding Fathers has the largest tap selection in the state of Arizona, self-serve tap selection.
Quite amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. And I just want to give a shout out to our pipes and drums, specifically Doug Copenhaver, because Doug, I can listen to you pipe all day long. Absolutely. Without needing an adult beverage to make it sound better.
Oh my gosh, Chief.
I'm just saying. Because there's all kinds of jokes about, hey, the bagpipes sound better the later the night gets.
I just think they're beautiful, and the energy that they create when the drums are with them, it's amazing. It's always beautiful to be in that environment, and the emotion and the excitement that they stir. If you've never heard it, they're playing again on Saturday at Founding Fathers.
6 o'clock, I believe.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. So please come out and listen to them. They're an amazing group. They do this all on their own time, and they're quite good.
Yeah.
Quite good for a bunch of hacks,
Yeah. And to my wife, Jen, if you're out there listening to this, I am going to ask you to go with me Saturday night. I know our son-in-law's up this week, and I'm helping him. And, it's always nice to go out and support the pipes and drums. I haven't been able to play in a year, publicly. So to have them out playing last night, and I think you were gone when Grammy-nominated singer Candace Devine, who lives in the area, sang an a cappella Danny Boy. And she was absolutely amazing to hear. So it
was fast approaching my husband's bedtime, so we had to leave.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it was after 7.
I married a much older man.
Bill, what can I say? We'll just leave it at that. So last week I was on vacation, which was fantastic. It was a great way to unplug, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I was in Moab. And Patty, you've known me long enough now to know that my mind wanders in mysterious ways. It comes up with ideas and things. And so I was on the trail, and I was blasting the stereo because I was by myself. Jen doesn't like to go with me on these things. I'm not sure if it's my driving or my personality, or it's probably a combination of both. I'm sorry.
She likes the break? Is that what you're trying to say?
She's looking for her time away from me. You think you all have it bad with me coming up with stuff? She has to live with me. She wants to start a support group. So I'm in the Jeep by myself, cranking the music up, and driving over some obstacles. And Patty, you're a former Jeeper, ran the Rubicon back in a CJ.
Back in the day.
Oh, absolutely. So when I talk about a gatekeeper, a gatekeeper is that one obstacle, usually at the beginning of some of the more difficult trails, that you either make it up or you don't make it up. And you're there with spotters and winches, and you'll get there, but you may take a little bit of your seat cushion with you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then along the trail, there's always obstacles. And I was on one particular trail. I was driving, and I noticed a lot of bypasses. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how to get Jen to go to Moab with me. And I'm looking at these bypasses, and I'm like, well, we could do the trail and go that way. But then I'd get to the obstacle and get over, and I'm like, man, if we hit the bypass, we miss these beautiful sights that we want to see. Right. And I understand being on the side of a sheer cliff is not Jen's thing. Makes her nervous. But I started thinking about, how does that relate back to life? Taking bypasses in life, avoiding challenges, and even the gatekeeper. Because we talked once about life ambushes with Jason Redman's new book. Fantastic book, by the way. And those are like what you went through when you had your medical concerns several years ago.
Right.
That's a life ambush.
Yeah. Yeah. It hit me out of nowhere. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with a particularly aggressive form of cancer that I knew treatment was going to take me out for the better part of a year. So once you kind of get over the shock of that, my next thought was, I'm going to probably lose my job. And that was terrifying. Right. That was terrifying. Cancer's bad.
Yes.
Losing your job when you have cancer is worse. Yeah. But again, the Fire family steps up, and they wrapped their arms around me and my husband and took care of us. And that was our rock during that time. But it came out of the blue. We had no plan for that.
Sure.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and when we look at gatekeepers, and I'm going to define a gatekeeper as something different than a life ambush, because a gatekeeper is something that is an obstacle in front of you to achieve a milestone in your life, is the way that I've defined it. Now, I just made that up, but
it sounds pretty good to me, actually.
I think it works for our purpose here. And one of the examples I use in the review this week is obtaining your college education to do X, whatever X is in your life, because attaining a college education, the work and effort that goes into studying and the financial commitment that takes is a huge gatekeeper for some people. Yeah. And if it's not a college education, a technical education for welding or carpentry or whatever. Those are gatekeepers, and you have to be willing to put forth the effort, take the chance, put yourself out there to achieve.
Yeah, to expose yourself, and that can be really frightening. That can be really frightening on a bunch of different fronts, like you said, financial, but also just the emotional toll on your family, the difficulties, when you have a difficult task in front of you. Are you really prepared to be able to do that?
And so when I looked at that, I said, when I'm looking at a gatekeeper and I'm in the Jeep and I'm standing against, looking at a wall that's taller than my Jeep going,
I can drive up that? Is that what you're thinking?
We'll drive up that. We'll try. We'll give it our best shot. And, the great thing about those is that the Jeeping community is just one big family. When we go on our annual pilgrimage to Moab, we're meeting our friends from Alabama, Texas, New Mexico. We're going to throw California in there, but whatever. We still like you. We still like you, Joey. And we've even met people on the trail each year that we've just been like, you're trying to drive this and that, you need to stick with us. And then they bought a different Jeep on the way home and came back and spent the week with us. And
nice.
Met a new young family, or new young couple this year. Great people. Anyways, the point of the gatekeeper there is sometimes you can make it up the gatekeeper, but you're never doing it alone, right? Mm-hmm. You have those folks standing there, and they're guiding you along the way. They're stacking rocks, or they're pointing, hey, little driver, a little passenger.
Yeah.
Hey, you're about to roll over backwards. We're going to put a winch on you so that you don't. Stop doing that type of thing. But it's like in life, when you're at a gatekeeper and you're looking at it and you're feeling overwhelmed, the reality is you always have people there, just like we talked about with Ty, and we encourage people to reach out. But, just in general terms, there seems to always be somebody there to guide you or throw you that rope that you need to help pull you up so that you can get to the other side of that and continue on the path. Right.
And, we talked earlier, if you don't have that gatekeeper and you miss an opportunity, what an impact that can have on somebody. And I shared with you a story earlier. Back when I was in the Stone Age, when I was 17, 45 long years ago, I did the math. I was in my first year of college, and I wanted to be a park ranger. More than anything in the world, I wanted to be a park ranger. So I'm in the program.
Is that like on Yogi Bear?
Kind of, yeah.
I like that cartoon.
Yeah. I got to wear the green uniform, and boo-boo, yeah. I love the outdoors. I loved being around people. I was going to be an interpretive park ranger, standing out there telling you all about the beautiful resource that's behind us, So back in the 70s, when you went to college, you had to take a physical ed PE class every semester.
Okay.
So second semester, my first year of college, my PE selection was a backpacking class. And our big trip at the end of the semester, well, kind of the end of the semester, was to climb San Jacinto Peak in California.
Sounds like a pretty place.
A beautiful place in the Sierras. There was about a dozen of us, and we'd spent the semester learning about how to prepare for a trip, physically training for the trip, what to pack, how to pack light, how to be safe, basic first aid, all the things that you need to be successful when you're out in the wilderness.
Right.
And again, I was 17. I'd never done anything like this before. This was way out of my zone. I was a little city girl,
Yeah.
And so they load us up all on a bus, and they drive us to Idlewild, which is on the western side of the Sierras. And our trip was about a 5-day backpack that would take us up into the San Gregorio Wilderness, up to San Jacinto Peak and over, and then back down the other side partway, where we got the luxury ride on the tram that took you down to Palm Springs. So that was the goal, was to get to the other side. So it was March. It was late March, and it snowed and snowed and snowed. And we spent 3 days breaking trail through about hip-deep snow.
Wow.
This was way, way out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And emotionally taxing, a really, really difficult trip, difficult first trip, you know. So we get to the pass. Snow. It finally stopped snowing that day. we get to the pass, and I'm done. I am emotionally done. We're all pretty beat and not really in a place where we can help each other, where it just kind of was a breakdown.
Sure.
So we get to this junction in the trail. There's a spur that goes up to the summit. And I look at that spur, that little trail, and it's uphill. And it's like, there is no freaking way I am going uphill another step that I don't have to, because I see the trail in front of me now, this beautiful descent down to the luxurious tram to take us to Palm Springs. I cannot wait to be done with this trip. So I agreed to stay. I said, I'm not going. I'm not going up there. I'm not going. Everybody dropped their packs. This group took off. I had no idea how far it was, but 10 feet would have been too far uphill. So I stayed there. I did not have the emotional strength or the physical. I'm sure I had the physical strength. I didn't think I did, though. So that was emotional. So everybody goes up. They summit. And they're at the top. They're taking pictures. They're having a great time. I hear later. They come back down. Everybody's laughing and scratching and happy because, they made it to the summit. And that's when the first pangs of regret start hitting me, that I didn't do that. Why didn't I do that? I didn't do that. And now it's too late. We're putting our packs on and everybody's heading down the hill. We finish the trip. They take their pictures to Photomat, because this is decades before digital pictures. And 2 weeks later, we get the pictures and everybody's talking. Everybody else but me made it to the summit. And that was a deep, deep regret, and really one of those kind of impactful, life-changing kinds of things for me, because I couldn't do it. And I knew there was probably never going to be another opportunity to do that. So I always carry that with me. Fast forward 30 years, and now I'm living in Grand Canyon National Park, and have read everything I can get my hands on about the park. And everybody hikes. Everybody has their favorite places that they go. And I'd heard about a place called Thunder River. Thunder River is this massive hole in the cliff face with water pouring out of it. Okay. I said, I'm going there. And then I read about how you get there. And it's like, I got to take a step back. And remembering San Jacinto and my failure, I don't want to fail. And you fail in Grand Canyon and you die. Yeah. And that's simple. Bad. There's no, you fail, you're dead. Right. So I spent about 4 years preparing, and more emotional preparation really than physical. Yeah. I had still hiked a lot. I did lots of backpacks. I went to some incredible places in there, but emotionally I prepared myself, saying, okay, my gatekeeper, if you will, for that trip was this visual of my failure, of not taking that trail to San Jacinto. And so I had the right equipment, I had the right people with me, and I had the right mindset, which I think was the most important part of it, was the right mental place to be successful on this trip. It's the hardest backpack I ever did. We went down cliff faces. There was one place where you go over this really pretty high boulder. Okay. And I was with one other person, and he told me, he says, you go down first. So yeah, I'm up for anything. Right. I go down first. He drops the packs down to me, and then he shinnies over. And it's about a 10-foot, 12-foot, pretty steep cliff, and he drops over and put our packs back on. And I stopped and I looked and I got, wait a minute, this is not a loop hike. This is an in and out hike. I got to go back up that cliff. Yeah. Well, I guess I'll figure it out when we get there, So we go off and did our Great Thunder River trip, had a wonderful time, came back. I get to the obstacle that was kind of niggling in the back of my mind. Oh, yeah. It's like, other people do it, I'll do it. So off we went, and made it to the top, had a great, great trip. And I think the takeaway from that, the feeling from that was that I'm going to spend the rest of my life saying yes to everything. Yeah. That when opportunity presents itself, I'm going to say yes. When a challenge presents itself, I'm not going to just jump in and do it like I did in San Jacinto. I'm going to do this. I could have been a lot more prepared, and I wasn't. I'm going to prepare myself with the right, like you always tell us, the right people, the right place, the right time. Yeah. I'm going to be ready, And the right attitude. The right attitude. So say yes to everything has been a great motto for me and has led me to some really incredible experiences. When I was on the trails in Moab, and I love what you
what you talk about with those trails, because that the initial hike that you had through the snow and all of that, that's to finish that class, right? You've got to get through this. And so it's kind of a gatekeeper. You don't get to finish the class unless that's done. And then the peak or the summit is another obstacle along the way.
Right.
You can choose to do it or you can choose to bypass. But when you choose to bypass some difficult challenges in your life, we're not talking health challenges, we're talking about challenges that will lead to opportunity, things that will stretch your mind, stretch your capabilities, that people bypass. Every time I take an obstacle in the Jeep, I am improving my driving skills. I am testing the limits of what my Jeep can do.
And what Jim will tolerate in terms of buying new parts, right? You're testing those limits.
Yeah, the parts did arrive today to fix it so I can get it back on the road. However, say yes to everything means that we invest in those things and make the Jeep better. Right. That's what I'm hearing from you, Jen. Right. That's what Patty said.
Right. Take advantage of opportunities. Take advantage of opportunities. I joke about this as I get older, but my long-term goal is to be in the nursing home with all the other ladies, telling them stories of all of my adventures, and having the nursing home people have to double their order of Depends because they're laughing so hard. That's important to me. So that's my plan.
I don't want to lay on my deathbed saying, I wish I would have. I wish I would have tried this. And honestly, if it wasn't for a willingness to stretch, and I think it takes courage to do that. You have to make yourself vulnerable, because when you try something like that, you're gonna fail from time to time. It's just gonna happen. And if you're afraid to fail at anything, then you're never going to accomplish anything. Right. You're never going to find out what your limits may be, and understand that your limits are set by you.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it took me 30 years to backpack again.
Sure.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. I truly loved it then. We did a trip to Catalina Island in that class that was incredible. I loved that experience. But San Jacinto hurt me, and it took me 30 years to pick up a pack again.
And for me, when we talk about, I use college as an example. I didn't go to college until I was in the fire service. Yeah. And I went and I obtained my associate's degree, and then I obtained my bachelor's degree, and I went straight from the bachelor's program to the graduate program. And when you're in your career working full time, and you have a wife and a couple of kids and a house payment, and you're trying to make your college tuition payments and buy your books and take out your loans and then get all your work done, it was a significant challenge. And let's just say, I was not your best student in high school.
No way.
Yeah, I know. Surprising, isn't it? I wasn't even what you would consider mediocre. I was the guy who my geometry teacher said, if you promise you will leave my class and never come back, I will make sure you pass this last test. And I'm like, you got a deal. I'm out.
He wasn't going to fail you because he didn't want you next year,
No,
right?
Didn't want me back. Just go away. You're a pain.
That's funny.
Like, I get it. But in college, I was focused because I had purpose in taking on that challenge. I wanted to do something in my career. I didn't know what it was.
And you chose to make that path, too. It wasn't something you were forced into. You chose that.
No, I chose to go. I chose to put myself in that situation because I knew at some point that all of that work and all of that effort would pay off. I just didn't know where. I didn't know when. But I knew that all of the classes I was taking was helping me as a company officer. They were helping me as an assistant chief. And today I look back on those, and they help me in my current position as well. And then when I was done with that, I'm like, okay, the mindset is I'm still in school. So as soon as I finished my graduate degree, I applied for the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer Program. So another 4-year graduate level applied research project. And then when I was done with that, I went on and we started our first orientation today. Thank you so much for putting that together.
That was great today. For new employees, a real in-depth orientation. And we talked to them about this being a learning organization. And
What we meant by that is that we encourage people to continuously learn. And I think an example of that is Chief Tharp is back in college. Chief Fatima is in the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Chief, EFO.
Right.
Executive Fire Officer. I'm in the Naval Postgraduate School in the Executive Leaders Program, and we're setting these standards. Chief Rose is planning on going back to college. So we are trying to set the example because we're saying we want education is going to be important. If you want to promote, you need to go get this, and we want you to go beyond the bare minimum. So we're trying to set the example to show that, no, this is a continuous learning.
Right. And what depth you're building in the organization. Myself as an example, I am drawn to the peer support, the mental health aspect of our firefighters. And the organization, CAFMA, has strongly supported training that we do. We brought in IAFF trainers to help us learn peer support. We've developed a team. We continually take advantage of training opportunities to be able to be that resource and that support. And it came to the forefront yesterday with our tragedy yesterday. We were able to offer some true resources to our people that needed it, and we'll continue to do that in the coming weeks because it is going to be a difficult time. I love too what you said in orientation. You talked about looking at our people and seeing where their talents lie. So you have an employee that is, I'll use Josh because you've met Josh before in the podcast.
He's been here.
Josh works on our warehouse, but has other skills, other strengths. And so we're going to look at what he has to offer and create opportunities for him to use those skills. It only makes us better. It shares his education and his talents with other people to help make them better. It gives him more buy-in and more ownership into the work that he does. He's not just a name on a file doing a job description. He's truly contributing in various ways to the organization. And all of us have our unique, quirks, but also our unique talents that the organization is able to take and utilize. And again, it makes us all better, makes us all stronger.
Well, and look at Jamie. Jamie's someone that you've met on the podcast before as well. And, after we hired her and we had somebody else and the other person didn't work out. And I went in and I asked Jamie, I said, what do you think we missed? You went through the process. And I was talking with all of prevention and the feedback she gave me was just fantastic. And as I'm listening to her, because she has years of experience in service industry, she's hired a lot of people in her former career. And I'm like, wow, she's actually a resource for us for hiring and can help us improve our processes.
Absolutely.
So even though she's only been here for 6 months, we're already using her on hiring panels because of her background and her insight.
Right. I was teasing her earlier today, telling her that she needs to carve out 30% of her work time now because she's going to do 30% HR, 70% prevention to help us with these panels. She did a great job.
Yeah, and our podcast star, Kathy, because her and Carolyn,
she needs to come back and do another session.
Oh my gosh, they blew up for us. It's not like we had thousands of views.
They're not like YouTube sensations, but they're
not
close.
yet. But I think she could be
close.
But we find out that she's working in administration, but wow, she has 10 years experience working with social media.
Absolutely.
And so we're like, we're idiots with this. See if you
please,
can make
if you
it
can
better.
do this,
make it better.
Yeah.
And she came to me after probation. She said, Chief, I've worked with you for a year now. I have an idea how your mind works based on reading what you write and the things that you say. I do have filter issues sometimes. And she said, I'd be happy to start proofreading the review for you. And at the time, we weren't doing the podcast yet. So I'm like, well, I kind of write it on Friday morning on the fly. But with the podcast, I've had to start writing it earlier. And I went back to her and said, hey, you said you understand me. Can you
make me better?
Can you read this? And now every week I make sure I get the review, the chief's desk written in time that she gets it. She reviews it, proofs it. Yeah. And unfortunately I've gone to her and I'm like, hey, is this one too sarcastic? And she's like, well, Yes. But I agree with everything you said, so I'd send it.
So, again, and that speaks to the culture that we have, the environment, the work environment that we've been able to create here, to where she feels comfortable saying, "Hey, Chief, you need a little help with your writing."
Yeah.
She was respectful.
She was.
Which is what we expect from everybody. We want to be mutually respectful, but to have the ability to say, "Hey, I think I can help you here."
Yeah.
Not in a critical way, but in a way that again makes us all better. I just I'm astounded at how well that is all coming together for us.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And when you write something yourself, it sounds great in your head, and you can read the thing 5 times. And on a Friday morning, late Thursday night, Friday morning, you're writing this by yourself. You're like, yeah, it looks good. And you send it out, and then you read it again the next week. You're like, I missed that word, or should have been punctuation here. So having that extra set of eyes. And
yeah.
Jen was willing to read it, and I would have Jen proof it sometimes when I really thought I was going to upset somebody. And I'm like, here, read this and tell me if it's too pointed. And Jen was really good at saying, yes, it's too pointed. I would send it, though. So.
Oh, my goodness. So yeah.
So this way, we take a little bit of that influence. And
that's funny.
She's great, though. I love you, Jen.
That's good.
So, I think, though, as we wrap up this week, it's very important to remember that you're going to have the opportunity to take on some challenges in your life. Yeah. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And I'll share with you a final analogy. There are times where you really do have to know your limitations. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I don't think clearly through some things that I might do or try. And so we are looking at this ginormous hole in the ground in Moab called the Gravy Bowl. I don't name these things. And it's huge. It's a massive hole. And the first guy goes in it. He's got 42-inch tires, an LS 6.0, and a TJ that's stretched, a Jeep TJ. And he goes in. He goes, I think the line is to the right. And he takes the line, and he's not coming back out. Huh? He's done. He's up like this. We get a winch on him. We get him out. Next guy, my buddy Joey from California, goes in. He's got a built JK, so he's got more wheelbase, 40-inch tires, and he says, you know what, I'm going to take this line up over here. So he gets out no problem, except his line takes him out on the other side, off camber, leaning towards a 500-foot sheer drop-off, and is slightly uncomfortable with getting out of there. So we put a tag line on him, and it takes probably 15, 20 minutes. We get him off the cliff ledge, right? Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm looking at it because I'm the only one stupid enough in a smaller Jeep to think, that looks like a good idea. And so my buddy Sean from Texas is looking at it. He's like, well, you can go in. I said, well, I think I could take Joey's line out because it's steep, but it'll go out in smaller wheelbase. Little more tippy, but I think I could get around that cliff without going over the edge. And he said, yeah, maybe, or maybe not. He said, let me put it to you this way. I am more than happy to have you go down into this obstacle, this gravy bowl. Understand you're likely going to break something, and we're going to pull you out on a winch one way or the other. Yeah. And I said, okay.
Yep.
I won't go in.
Made a good decision.
And only because he was. Otherwise, I would have gone straight into that
I don't know. I think you'd have thought about it. I mean, I know I'll never get to Thunder River again.
Right.
But I probably have a few more trips to Phantom Ranch in me.
Yeah.
So again, know your limitations, but again, say yes to everything.
Yeah. Say yes. Try it.
Yeah.
But surround yourself with people that are going to take care of you and look out for you and give you proper advice. Yeah. Because I don't know. Sometimes we look at things and we're like, that's a great idea. And someone else will be like, hey, let's take a step back and think about this. Yeah. So have that buffer. A buffer is good. So, Patty, thank you so much. We're going to have you back on again because you're a blast. We love you.
Thank you for time.
I had a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Real quick. I understand that Captain Craig Stooks nicknamed you.
He did.
Would you mind sharing that?
He did. He and I actually were going to take a plane ride across country. and we went on Southwest, and he had king status or something on Southwest, and I never fly. I hate to fly. And so he got to board the plane first. I was way at the back of the herd. So we talked about it. He says, "Oh, don't worry, I'll save a seat for you. I'll save a seat for you." Well, Southwest is, again, like a cattle car, and saving a seat is a little rough. So he was telling people that he was saving the seat for his Meemaw. So
Isn't that nice?
I am Craig Stooks's Meemaw. Craig, I love you dearly. And I really don't mind being your Meemaw. I think I might be old enough to do that, but
if you're
it's a term of endearment. So
if you're his Meemaw, I need to talk to you because there's some things I need fixed.
Oh, he does listen to his Meemaw. I
need you to get a little stern.
That's good.
I'm kidding, Craig. Doing a great job.
We do love you. Can I have 2 seconds
absolutely.
Or more to give a shameless plug?
Yes.
We are hiring for an administrative position. You met Kathy and Caroline a couple weeks ago. We do have that position still open. It'll be open till the 31st. Please go to our website and consider, if you have somebody you know that would like to become a part of our family, please encourage them to apply.
And our website is cazfire.org. Again, before we close out, please, if you're struggling emotionally or contemplating suicide, reach out to someone for help. So until next week, I'm not sure who's going to be on next week, but we will tag someone. Maybe Zach Toucharm. I mean,
lucky charm, yes.
Yesterday was St. Patty's Day. We should have had him. But so until next time,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel.